Good afternoon, y'all. So I'm driving down the highway in Mexico, and there's all of this unoccupied land here on the side of the road. And there's a sign next to kind of a little brick house. She's a brick. For sale with said a few acres. No, what did it say? 1,800 square meters. I kind of wanted to talk about what I was talking about this morning about the government stealing property. Because to a lot of us, the concept of the government stealing from you is just unheard of. Oh, the government doesn't steal. How exactly does that happen? How exactly does the government do this? And I saw this, the reason this made me think of it is because they're working on building a train, although I think that project might have been canceled. They wanted to build a train on the other side of where this property was. And depending on how far back the property went, it might have been in the land where the train was going to be built. And so the question is, how can the government just take your land? Well, how is it yours to begin with? Because you built a house on it, because you put a fence around it, because your dogs and your chickens run wild on that piece of land? Okay. To you and me, yeah, that means it's yours. If you or I went to this person's house and we saw, oh, there's a fence, obviously somebody lives here, it's somebody's property, we're going to leave it alone. We don't even have to check the government registry to know that it belongs to somebody else. But when you're the government, you have this registry of who owns what. And when the government says, we need this land, because I've got a cousin who really wants it, or because we need to build a train for the public good, or we need to build a park, or we need to preserve it as a natural habitat for the indigenous cricket species, whatever reason they have, what they're probably going to do is they're probably going to go through some court process which nobody understands. They're going to use a bunch of rules and laws which none of us have ever read. And it might be eminent domain, it might be tax law, there might be a law that says, oh yeah, well, even though somebody owns a property, you're allowed to take that property away for XYZ, which is kind of eminent domain, but maybe it's not. Maybe it's under some other category. But you're going to be sitting in your house one day, someone's going to come knocking on your door and say, hey, the government needs your property, you got to ship out, you got 30 days. What? That's bullshit. Oh, is it? It says right here on this document, certified by the court, by the government, that it's not bullshit and you gotta go. What are you gonna do? What do? You call your lawyer? What's your lawyer gonna say? Yeah, well, it's got the government stamp on it, there's not much you can do. You didn't get a warning notice? Maybe you could have contested it a few months ago? Maybe you got a warning notice and you were like, oh, that's bullshit. They can't just take my property. Maybe you have 30 days to contest it. Now that somebody's knocked on your door, maybe you've got 30 days to contest it. How do you contest it? Well, you got to hire a lawyer. How much does the lawyer cost? A few $1,000s. You got a few $1,000s laying around? Nope. Well, guess what? You don't get to contest it. And you can kick and scream, you can go down to the court and you can say, hey, this isn't right, they can't just take my property, and the court's going to say, well, did you respond to the thing? You have an opportunity here to dispute this or to appeal it or, whatever. Did you do that? No. Well, why didn't you do that? Now it's your fault. It's your fault the government's taking your property because you didn't respond. You didn't dispute it. You didn't appeal it. So you can ask the court, well, how do I appeal it? Oh, well, there's a form, but you're going to have to fill it out, and you're going to have to write a letter with all of your legal expertise on why the government should not be kicking you off your own property. Well, you've got 30 days, maybe. don't have 4 years to go to law school. You can try using Google. That might not get you too far. And, okay, so let's say you schedule a hearing with the judge and they look over your paperwork and the judge looks at it and he says, well, look, they need this for like and I understand it's your home. We're going to give you a little bit of money for it. Probably not going to be what it's actually worth. Not going to include anything to compensate you for the fact that, like, this is the perfect location and you never wanted to sell it or move. Maybe it's close to your family or something else. I don't know. They're not going to compensate you for any of that. They're going to give you fair market value, which is going to be way below fair market value. And you're going to tell the judge, no, you can't do this. This is my house. You can't do this. And she's going to say, well, that's not a legal argument. You're going for an emotional appeal here. We operate under the law here. This is a court of law, not a court of you can't do this. And he's right. It's a court of law. And the laws say the government has the right to steal from you because, the government made the laws, so they can make up whatever reasons to steal from you they want. It's not a fair fight. But what I don't think people understand is that everybody is at risk for this. Now, if you live in a big city, you're probably not at a huge risk because, they're not gonna put a train right through the middle of a suburb or something, right? I mean, if they do, they'll go around the subdivisions. They're not going to go right through your house. But I remember when I was a kid learning about how the highways in Los Angeles were built. They actually did that. They went to people's homes, kicked them all out, said, you can't live here. LAX, where they built the airport, they built an airport next to a bunch of people's houses. And they sued because they created all this noise over their houses. They made it unlivable. And they won some money, but ultimately they had to move. They got money, but they couldn't shut down the airport and they couldn't relocate the airport. Because big money controls the outcome of all these things. And so why am I telling this? Because, well, I mean, I guess the first thing that just put the thought in my head was seeing that property for sale, knowing that it was next to where they want to put this train. But I guess one of the things that infuriates me is just knowing that there's kind of this powder keg of legal bullshit that's ready to destroy any of our lives completely. And most of us kind of ignore that it's even there when it's an absolute possibility. So that's one problem. The other problem is that if we don't, if there is a way out, if there is a way to protect your property from these giant corrupt governments, to protect your property from being stolen and your rights from being violated, you have to know the law. You have to be a lawyer. This, I know my rights, doesn't work. I mean, you can sit there and argue with a cop who's trying to arrest you. You can sit there and just shut the fuck up and not say anything. Did you know that that's probable cause? To just not say anything? To exercise your Fifth Amendment right is probable cause that you're committing a crime? How is this possible? Oh, because you don't know the law. See, you can't just exercise your rights by exercising your rights anymore. You need to notify the government that you're about to exercise your rights. Officer, I'm going to shut the fuck up and exercise my Fifth Amendment right. And now, when you shut the fuck up, I know I'm stealing the Pop Brothers at Law line. But now when you shut the fuck up, it means something. It's funny. I was stopped by a cop, and I don't mind talking to cops because I kind of know what to say, what not to say, when to confuse them, and all this other shit. And I know sometimes I put myself in a hole, but I love experimenting. What can I say? I love fucking with cops. I love wasting their time. I was stopped by a cop on the side of the road for about an hour, and he started asking some questions that I started answering, and then I realized, oh shit, I probably gave him the wrong answer. But what was funny is when I recognized that I did that, all I had to say is, you know what, I'm probably explaining this wrong, but I just know my lawyer said everything's cool. So if you want, I can give him a call and he can explain everything to you. And that's when he was like, nope. After I spent an hour with this guy on the side of the road and he was trying to fucking get his way into my car to search my trunk and like all kinds of shit. After an hour with this guy, all I had to say is, do you want me to call my lawyer? You can talk to him? And immediately he's like, get your shit, get on your way. That was it. End of conversation. It was over. It was over. Because he knows he's not a lawyer. He knows if he talks to a lawyer, the lawyer is going to know a lot more than he does. He assumed I didn't know shit. But that's the thing. Why should you have to be a lawyer to not get fucked with? Why should you have to be a lawyer to exercise your rights? And people sit here defending government as if, oh no, government's great, it collects all this money and then it saves the planet and it saves the whales and it stops the crime. No, government is the biggest criminal organization. All around the world, every government, criminal organization. The second biggest criminal organization is always just called organized crime. But it is government. Alright guys, I gotta run. Taxation is theft. Catch you later.